You're about to see what the RV industry doesn't want you to know. Millions of brand new RVs, never sold, never titled, are being quietly dumped. Dealers cut prices by tens of thousands.
The RV industry says California's zero-emission rules are driving out business. Fox's Max Gordon is at an RV dealership in Fountain Valley, California, with more.
Lenders force liquidation, and hidden storage lots fill with rigs that will never hit the road. Some deals look perfect online, but behind the banners lie fees, flood damage, and title scams. Here's why these unsold RVs are disappearing, and how it changes everything for buyers right now. The $40,000 shock. One October auction listing out of Kansas showed a 2024 J Flight, stickered at $79,995, hammered down for just $21,000. Another, a Forest River Salem, dropped from $83,000 to $23,000 within 2 weeks. These are brand new, never titled units, photographed with protective film still clinging to the interiors. The auctioneer labeled them liquidation required by lender. That wording tells the real story. These rigs aren't being discounted, they're being dumped to cover debt. For anyone watching prices, this is the proof they needed that the market broke wide open. You can feel it in the silence of the lots. Banners still fluttering above rows of unsold travel trailers, while the finance clock keeps ticking. The panic isn't theoretical anymore. It's visible, measurable, and spreading faster than any rebate. The question now isn't if the collapse is real, but where those rigs actually go once they vanish from the lot. They don't disappear. They reappear behind fences that most buyers never get to see. Receipts from the yard. Drive 2 miles past the public entrance of nearly any major dealership hub, and you'll find the hidden yards. Behind chain-link fences sit hundreds of brand new units covered in dust, each tagged with handwritten lot codes. One photograph from a Texas liquidation yard shows rows of fifth wheels with VIN plates reading "Zero registered owners." The ground beneath them is overgrown, grass through tires that have never rolled. A leaked dealer memo from September labeled these areas secondary storage for aging inventory. Translation: rigs too new to write off, too old to sell. Inside one of these fenced lots, a logistics worker quietly recorded serial numbers from units scheduled for transport reassignment. That phrase sounds harmless, but it means those RVs are being shipped to wholesale or salvage auctions, often the final stop before destruction. These are receipts in the truest sense. VINs, photos, and emails confirming that new stock is quietly being written off as unsellable. But the heart of this story isn't in the yards. It's in the factories that built far more than America ever needed. If you've seen dealer lots stacked with new rigs that never sell, drop a comment below and hit like so this warning reaches others before the next dump wave hits. Elkhart's quiet collapse. In northern Indiana, the glow from factory floodlights tells its own story. Elkhart County once ran production lines 24 hours a day, chasing pandemic-era demand. Now those same buildings hum at half speed. Rows of unsold trailers fill parking lots once meant for employee cars. Aerial photos from late summer reveal over 100 acres of idle units stacked side by side, each one representing a loan, a payroll, and a promise the market couldn't keep. Local workers describe shifts cut overnight and overtime disappearing after 15 straight months of decline. For a community built on motion, the stillness feels haunting. These are not trade-ins or repossessions. They are factory-fresh rigs waiting for buyers who no longer exist. Freight trucks that once hauled them nationwide now sit backed into bays, engines cold. Suppliers for axles and cabinetry quietly report layoffs as production forecasts shrink. The oversupply that once looked like success has turned into a burden that every worker can see from their own doorstep. And behind that visible oversupply lies an invisible chain. The financial lifeline that's now strangling dealers nationwide. The floor plan fuse. Every dealership in America runs on what's called floor plan credit, a revolving loan that covers each unit sitting on the lot. It works like a giant meter that never stops running. The moment a rig arrives, interest begins. When sales are fast, nobody notices. When they freeze, every day costs money. A small-town Ohio dealer recently admitted his carrying cost jumped to nearly $48 per unit per day. Multiply that by 100 units and 30 days, and you see why panic spreads faster than sales. As unsold rigs stack up, banks start pulling the plug. They demand repayment or new collateral, and dealers are forced to liquidate at any price just to reset their credit line. That's how a $70,000 fifth wheel ends up on an auction block for $22,000. Not because it's worthless, but because time finally became the enemy. Each unsold rig becomes a fuse burning toward financial detonation. And once those loans hit the wall, the dumping doesn't stop. It spreads. The $5,000 Mirage. Scroll through the online listings and you'll see them everywhere. Shiny travel trailers and fifth wheels marked down to $5,000. The photos sparkle, the captions promise lightly used, and the words ready to roll pop up again and again. For anyone who has spent a lifetime watching prices climb, these deals feel like a dream come true. But every veteran buyer knows one thing. When a price looks impossible, it usually hides the cost somewhere else. Many of these listings trace back to liquidation channels or government surplus sites where the descriptions are written to attract speed, not scrutiny. One recent example showed a 2021 model that had never been titled. Listed at $4,995, the fine print revealed it had sat in storage for 3 years and carried as is, no inspection. Buyers rush in with hope, not realizing that many of these rigs are aging out of warranty even before their first trip. The psychology is simple. Desperation sells. These mirages exist to pull cautious buyers into fast decisions before they notice the cracks in the paperwork. And those cracks start to show the moment you read the title line that claims everything is clean. Paper lies. Every recreational vehicle has two identities, the metal tag welded to its frame and the paper title registered to a state. When those two disagree, the buyer stands on a trapdoor. Title washing, as it's called, is the quietest scam in the collapsing market. A rig labeled salvage or flood in one state can cross a border and come out clean the next day. A single missing word in a database transforms wreckage into opportunity, at least for the seller. One Midwestern dealer's paperwork leak showed 42 units relabeled through a small southern state, known for lenient documentation rules. They were then sold online as factory returns. The buyers never knew the truth until corrosion started showing under the paint. It only takes one signature and a new notary stamp to bury a history of damage. That's why any serious buyer should always cross-check the vehicle identification number against the National Motor Vehicle Database and demand to see insurance claim records before signing. Paper may look official, but ink can lie as easily as salesmen. And when that lie hides water instead of ink, the cost becomes physical, soaked deep into every wall and wire. Flood washed and flipped. When hurricanes strike the Gulf or heavy rains hit the Carolinas, thousands of motorhomes end up underwater. Within months, many reappear hundreds of miles inland, cleaned, polished, and listed as like new. These are the flood-washed and flipped units, the undead of the resale world. From the outside, they look flawless, but inside, they're rotting quietly. Step inside and take a slow breath. If you smell a sour note of mildew or a chemical perfume, that's the scent of damage being disguised. Press along the floor corners or window frames. If you hear a faint crunch or feel softness, the structure beneath has already started to fail. In one Kentucky yard, inspectors found over 200 rigs with hidden flood lines just below the storage hatches. Each one had been cleaned, relabeled, and offered to out-of-state buyers. The danger isn't just cosmetic. Corroded wiring can short out while driving, and weakened axles can collapse under load. For anyone chasing a bargain, a flood-flipped R-vee can turn freedom into financial ruin faster than a storm can form. And even if you dodge the water damage, the next trap hides in plain sight. At the bottom of the invoice, fee shock. That $5,000 deal that looks perfect on paper rarely ends there. Behind every bid sits a string of hidden charges that quietly erase the savings. Auction houses add buyer premiums reaching 10%, plus documentation, storage, and reconditioning fees. Then comes transport, hundreds or even thousands of dollars to move the unit from the lot to your driveway. One buyer who thought he'd scored a bargain at $4,800 ended up paying nearly $8,000 once the bills landed. A leaked invoice from a Nevada liquidation sale lists 22 separate add-on fees, including $400 just for paperwork retrieval. None of this is fraud. It's fine print designed to make desperation profitable. Dealers know most first-time bidders never factor logistics into the math. And by the time they do, they're already invested emotionally. For the cautious buyer, that's the final reminder. In a collapsing market, the real cost is never in the headline price. It's buried in the line items. And those fake bargains exist for one reason: to bury a bigger crisis upstream. The refund rebellion. It started as a trickle, a few families calling dealerships, asking to cancel orders they placed during the lockdown years. Then the calls became a flood. By the end of 2024, refund requests and warranty buybacks hit levels no manufacturer had ever prepared for. Thousands of owners discovered that the new life on wheels they financed 3 years earlier came with leaky roofs, electrical faults, and loans that ballooned faster than expected. Dealers were caught in the middle. squeezed between lenders demanding payments and customers demanding cash back. Leaked reports showed over 9,000 refunds in 1 year. Manufacturers issued quiet buybacks to protect reputation, but each refund sent another depreciating rig back into circulation. The cycle fed itself, returns creating more unsold stock. To buyers, it looked like discounts. In truth, it was a market drowning in excess, and just as refunds peaked, a new rulebook landed that made every problem inside those factories even harder to solve. Regulation whiplash. California's zero-emission mandate wasn't aimed at collapsing the R-vee market, but it hit the sector like a brake lock. When regulators announced that all new vehicles sold after 2035 would need zero-emission compliance, manufacturers panicked. Plants that once focused on gas-powered engines and propane systems were suddenly staring at redesign costs in the millions. Supply chains froze, while engineers scrambled to recertify generators and heating systems under tighter emission codes. A leaked memo showed new emission rules added $3,000 per unit. Dealers couldn't absorb it, buyers wouldn't pay, and production stalled after years of overbuilding. Backlogged R-vees became unsellable. Plants shut, workers waited, and what began as clean air policy ended up strangling an already overbuilt industry. The fallout didn't stop with policy confusion. It spread into the very data investors trusted to judge whether the crisis was real. If you've made it this far, you're ahead of the crash. Subscribe now, because the next R-vee collapse is already loading, and knowing first could save you thousands. The numbers that lied. For most of 2024, industry analysts kept repeating the same phrase: demand remained steady. They said it because the shipment data still looked healthy, but those reports were lagging behind reality by months. A rig shipped from the factory was counted as sold, even if it sat unsold at a dealership for the rest of the year. That accounting quirk turned paper optimism into real-world collapse. When actual sales reports caught up, the gap was staggering. Shipments down 40%, retail transactions down nearly 60%. A lending bank analyst confessed their credit models were based on fiction. Spring loans relied on winter's inflated data, funding factories already cutting jobs. The illusion of stability hid the collapse. When numbers finally matched reality, dealers drowned in stock, and lenders tightened credit overnight. Data didn't prevent failure, it protected it. And when the truth finally surfaced, those unsold rigs didn't just sit, they began decaying in value faster than any spreadsheet could track. The aging inventory spiral. Every R-vee has a clock ticking from the day it leaves the assembly line. Tires dry out, seals harden, warranties shorten, and electronics lose firmware support. A unit sitting for 18 months isn't new anymore. It's aging inventory. Once a model year flips, its book value can drop by 15% overnight, even if it has 0 miles. Multiply that across tens of thousands of unsold rigs, and the financial rot becomes visible. Dealers slash prices below cost as banks cut credit on stale stock. Each unsold unit bleeds thousands in interest. By late 2025, fleets were dumped to escape debt. The rigs weren't broken, the math was. Only simple, sturdy units survive the spiral. Only certain rigs can survive that spiral, and they're not the ones you'd expect. The high-volume casualties. When the pandemic boom hit, factories bet everything on sameness. Keystone Springdale, J-Flight, and Forest River Salem models rolled out by the tens of thousands between 2020 and 2022. At first, they were printing money. Floor plans repeated, materials standardized, and dealers couldn't get enough. But when demand collapsed, those identical units became anchors. Today, those same rigs are the hardest to move. Auction sheets show 2-year-old Springdales dropping from $38,000 to just over $15,000. Buyers can pick from rows of clones, each with the same color, layout, and flaws. The issue isn't quality, it's oversupply. Value collapses when identical rigs flood lots. Slide-outs, roof seals, and cheap cabinetry fail first. Buy only with verified service records and roof checks. Without proof, you're purchasing a fast-aging liability, not a lasting investment. Yet hidden among those failures are smaller survivors that quietly outlasted the hype. Compact survivors. Before the frenzy, smaller builders were producing lightweight rigs meant for simplicity, not spectacle. Models like the Palomino Puma, the StarCraft Launch, and early Passport ultralights from before 2010 avoided touchscreen gadgets and overcomplicated slide systems. Their strength was their restraint. Aluminum framing, single axles, and manual systems make them cheaper to maintain and lighter to tow. A 10-year-old Puma in clean condition now holds value better than many newer luxury units because owners can repair it with basic tools instead of proprietary parts. State resale data shows compact trailers under 20 feet lost only 12% in 2 years, while large fifth wheels dropped over 40. Simpler rigs last longer. Seek pre-frenzy builds with thick walls and original manuals, proof of slower, honest craftsmanship. Once you know what to buy, the next step is learning where these survivors quietly surface before everyone else sees them. Contrarian hunting grounds. The best buys never sit on a dealer's lot. They hide in overlooked corners of the market where timing decides everything. The first place to watch is state surplus auctions. These sales often clear out disaster response or agency-owned units that have minimal wear but must be removed from inventory by fiscal deadlines. Next are platforms like GovDeals and GovPlanet, where never-titled trailers appear in waves as agencies downsize fleets. Listings close fast, so alerts and patience matter. Follow the seasons. Midwest lots dump inventory in late winter, then stock moves south by spring. Track that flow and strike early, before resellers inflate prices. Smart timing saves 20 to 30%. The market moves like a tide. Watch, wait, and act. But even the smartest hunter can lose money without mastering one final skill: knowing how to check a rig fast and close a deal on your terms. The 30-minute test and cash leverage. Every safe purchase begins with 30 focused minutes. Start outside. Run your hand along seams, check roof caulking, and look for soft panels around vents. Step inside and test every system: lights, outlets, fridge, and pump, all at once. A healthy electrical setup will hold without tripping breakers. Then crawl beneath the frame and scan for fresh welds or uneven rust. Those are signs of flood or accident repair. Finally, verify the VIN on the chassis against the title and a national database. One mismatched digit can erase your insurance eligibility. When it's time to buy, use cash as leverage. Show proof of auction prices, offer 10% less, then stay silent. Walk away if they stall. When the next clearance wave hits, strike fast. Every saved dollar protects you from future repair costs. And that's the hidden truth behind millions of new R-vees being dumped. What looks like a deal could cost you thousands if you don't know the signs. Now you've seen the secret storage yards, the liquidation auctions, and the traps that buyers fall into every day. If you found this eye-opening, hit that like button so others can see it too. Drop a comment below. Have you spotted unsold R-vees or crazy price drops in your area? And don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell. We're breaking down every hidden corner of the R-vee market, so you never buy blind again.